China, China, China. For once, I can agree with them about what I'm about to tell you. China recently put out a warning that they are going to start limiting children's use of their devices. Now, I want to get this straight and share this with you. So let me just read to you what they propose undoing. When they propose in China, that means they're actually doing it. They're not proposing anything, they're telling you, even though they may use proposing. But the title of the article that caught my eye is China plans to set daily limits on children's screen time. China's internet regulator is planning strict new controls to limit children's mobile device screen time. Under new draft rules from the Cyberspace Administration of China, the CAC, children under 8 years old will be limited to 40 minutes a day device time. 8 to 16-year-olds will be limited to 1 hour, and 16 to 18-year-olds, 2 hours. And get this, no access will be allowed between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Now, I have to say, let's break this down a little bit. With everything we know about the internet, with about online predation, with the advent of AI, I'm sorry, I think this is a terrific idea. Now, it is a bit of a slippery slope because once we allow this type of regulation, can be misconstrued or used in other ways. So here's what I recommend. Let us take this plan. It's very basic that China put out. They already limit TikTok. It shuts down after 40 minutes for kids. Of course, our kids are on it 11 hours a day or thereabouts. But China just, the device turns off. I say parent up. I say take this plan China's doing. Certainly, 8 and under, 40 minutes a day is plenty of time. 8 to 16, 1 hour. That could be a little rough because it's like with a drone. We know there's internet addiction, being online addiction. And of course, parent up. What do I always tell you? No devices in the bedrooms at night. Kids need their rest, number one. And also, friends will contact them, and it just can lead to all bad sorts of things. So, warriors, I really don't think this plan with China is too terrible. I think we in the United States are failing tremendously. I had a conversation, and I will direct you to lynswarriors.org to find a new study, a study released by our colleagues, our partners, Nurses United Against Human Trafficking, that our federal government could not get done. And these two women behind the scenes, both nurses, sexual assault nurse examiners, they've got all kinds of credits, Tammy Tony Butler, Dr. Fran Bononeri, they got this intense study done within the year. You see, when you're passionate and make up your mind and really want to accomplish something, you do. So first, let me just tell you a little bit about the study. Again, go to lynswarriors.org. Under the news and events, take action tab, you'll find it there. They decided as nurses, and there are 4 million approximately across the United States, that they are on the front lines of recognizing a victim of human trafficking. Because after all, the girls, the women, boys, kids, men, a lot of them end up in hospital emergency rooms. So what are we going to do? First of all, a lot of these studies regarding human trafficking, and I was astounded, are 2012, 2014, 2016, and then they kind of stop. And I would ask in meetings, where are all the new studies? I got every excuse in the book. First, we don't have the resources. Second, COVID, nothing's being done. Oops, coming out of COVID, slow to get back on track. Anyway, Nurses United Against Human Trafficking, I recommend the website nuaht.org, everybody. They were able to do an anonymous poll across the entire United States with over 400 nurses from all different healthcare facilities, asking, the very appropriate questions. And they worked with law enforcement hand in hand. How do you, indicators, how do you recognize? But the most important thing, because all of them admit it, there were no protocols in place to then what do you do when, for instance, a 12-year-old girl who doesn't talk, who doesn't open her mouth, or a 12-year-old boy, and may have that pimp or trafficker sitting in the waiting room. What do you do? What have you been trained to do? Most of these healthcare facilities, hospitals, do have something with human trafficking, but it's usually watch a video, check off the boxes. Here's 15 minutes on it. It was shocking. They all reported, not knowing each other, being anonymous. There was no real training in depth, no real protocols in place. It's completely shocking to me. We knew it would be bad. We didn't know it would be this bad. I bring this up because our devices are leading to this predation. The kids are being exposed to everything and anything online. I think in 2023, we've learned our lessons. We know what's going on. We know we're not stopping it, but we can stop it in our own homes, in our own communities, if we parent up, if we community up, come together. If you go to lynswarriors.org, I also have a sample letter, how you approach your child's school. You may have to approach the Board of Ed. We don't want phones in schools during the school day. Use these resources. Understand how dire this situation is. Understand it's only getting worse. Every second I'm sitting here. Let me do something I haven't done in quite a long time. Because you may be new here, maybe you never saw me do this before. But just bear with me for a minute and watch what I do. Trafficked. Exploited. I know that may seem a little dumb, but it's a visual. And that is what is happening to our kids in the United States. You saw me snap? How can I best describe what is happening? That's what we know about. Maybe it's trafficked. We have to get a grip. We have to get a hold. We have to do it ourselves because there is no help. And in talking to my dear colleagues, Nurses United Against Human Trafficking, the other day, the three of us said, you know what? There is so much bipartisan legislation pending in Congress right now. So many different, from COSA, Kids Online Safety Act, to EARN IT Act, to COPPA, Children's Online Protection Privacy Act, to the REPORT Act, to the SHIELD Act. I could go on and on and on. How come we can't get them over the finish line? How come we got them this far down the chain and Congress won't vote on one child safety law legislation? What is going on here? I'll tell you what's going on. Today is August 9th, 2023. There's a lot of nothing going on. I say this because it's the reality. It's the truth. Of course, we have to still chip away in Washington, but it really makes you stop and wonder. We've been working on things for a good solid 3 years now with all of these bipartisan, I will remind everybody, all of these child issues belong to no political party. They are human rights abuses. Why can't one of these pieces of legislation get over that final line? It's disturbing. So you need to step up, protect your kids. Maybe you don't have kids, but you have a sister or brother who has kids. You need to spread the information. Direct them to lynswarriors.org. There aren't enough hours in the day for me to do everything I set out to do every single day. Right now, I'm trying to finish up, it's late at night, a newsletter. I urge all of you, sign up. Go to lynswarriors.org. Scroll down on the right side, e-newsletter. There's so much information. I'm sitting in the middle of New York City. We are fighting and finally getting press coverage, and we'll take anything we can get. I don't care if it's NBC, CNN. I don't care. If the word gets out and it changes life or give somebody resources, one person, one child, that's what it's about. I don't care where it comes from, if it's the correct information. So we held a news conference yesterday. Our coalition group, bipartisan here in New York, called New Yorkers for the Equality Model. Full steam ahead. We have the New York Post. Thank you. Finally putting honest headlines about the sex trade in their newspaper. Open air sex markets, East New York, Brooklyn, Corona, Queens. If you know where to look, Manhattan. The demand is for children. Our good friend, she's a hard worker. She's part of our coalition, Melanie Thompson, 27 years old, trafficked at the age of 12. It's all there, locked in a closet until they broke her down. She thought she was meeting, some teenage boys, and they grabbed her in the Bronx, threw her in a closet, beat her, vulnerable background. Why should we have the full decriminalization of the sex trade and allow this to perpetuate and to escalate? Because it's much easier these days to get to kids, to get to people online. We have to put the pieces in place. I just read a report fairly recently. Back to school spending. 70% of the monies spent will be on devices, phones, laptops, computers. You have a duty to put the safety features and filters in place to have that open and honest talk with your child, your teen, about what goes online, happens online. They're bad people. There are people looking to scam you. There are people looking to steal from you. There are people looking to make you uncomfortable. Little kids, somebody makes you uncomfortable? Tell me. Then again, we have a program we're working on, delay until 8th. Nobody gets a phone until 8th grade. Can't tell you when to buy your child a phone. That's your job, whatever you want, parental autonomy. But I will tell you, I don't understand why 5-year-olds need a phone, an 8-year-old needs a phone. Certainly 8th grade, I think, is an appropriate age. The problem is, warriors, when other kids all have these devices and then your child feels left out, it has more psychological damage than having the phone. I know it's hard to believe, but that's what studies are showing. So what do? You step up. It's back to school time. Safety features, safety. You talk about it with your children. You have to lead by example and be a role model. You have to put the phone down too at the dinner table. You have to not have it in the bedroom either. Kids are watching everything. They're smart. I tell you that all the time. They're savvy. They know how to figure out pins and codes and all that. Much better. We didn't grow up with this stuff. We've learned, we've adapted, and if you haven't, you better start learning. We got to keep an eye on our precious kids. There is a war on for our children. Here in New York City, in about 5 weeks, we have the annual United Nations. They get together. They come in from every different country for their global symposium. They are having a full-on attack on children. This is the same group that put out, nobody can understand this. Some pornography is good for kids. We couldn't believe what we were reading with this UN. Well, we all came together and they took that out of their writings, their online, their agendas. Make no mistake. They've been after pro-life groups. They're kicking out pro-life groups. They have an agenda. War on for our children. And I hear in 5 weeks, this will be a big issue at the UN, how the global community can come together with genders, with kids, all kinds of things. We need to take back our children, protect our children, step up. You can always write to me, Lynn at lynswarriors.org, with any questions. We have a lot of events lined up for the fall. Get with the program. A lot of good people are doing a lot of good things. I know you don't hear about it a lot because, of course, mainstream media doesn't cover it. but I try in my newsletters, and I can't sit, they're long enough, my newsletters. They're, 8, 10 pages long. I know people don't have that kind of attention span, but I feel it's my duty. Because I do get those who say to me, I sat and read and reread that entire newsletter. You need to know what's going on. So this week, on a positive note, we have a lot of awareness coming to this full decriminalization of the sex trade they are trying to push desperately here in New York. Governor Kathy Hochul, you've heard me say it here before, is endorsing prostitution. The mayor's office, it's called Sex Workers Productivity Office, not the Human Trafficking Office, not the Sexual Exploitation Office. Last year it was called the Gender Equity Office. Unraveling before us, warriors. Back to school 2023. If you're one of those parents or grandparents or caregivers who buys a new device, take action. Make it safe. Talk to those kids. They want us. We do focus groups. We work with kids. They want our attention. They want us to be concerned. And I also leave you with, there are many vulnerable children in the United States. Another tough issue, but keep your eyes and ears open. If you see something, say something. Call your 911. Call the human trafficking hotline number. Call. Better to be safe than sorry, because kids are being exploited and trafficked at rates I don't even know about. I just know when law enforcement says, Lynn, the demand is for 0 to 2 years old. If that doesn't make you motivated to take action, I don't know, warriors, whatever will. Keep an eye on the kids. There is truly a war on for our children. And each and every day, remember, community creates change. It's time. We're overdue. But each and every day, it's time to be a warrior.